I just got in from mowing the lawn in the humidity in Oklahoma, and it is warm. But I should remind you, if you're watching this and you don't want your children who may be around you to hear curse words, put your earphones on or turn the sound down, because I don't like to censor myself, because it tells my brain that there's something about me that I need to hide, and that makes me feel shame, and I don't enjoy the life that I create when I feel shame on a consistent basis. So, hi, Justin. Oh, I have a bug on me. Oh, look at that. That's not really surprising. Anyway, so yeah, I was mowing my grass, and I get the best inspiration and the most passionate about how coaching has changed my life when I'm mowing my lawn. And that is not a euphemism for smoking weed. I really was mowing my lawn. And because I know a lot of people get in that same mental state when they smoke weed. Anyway, so I was mowing my lawn, and I was out there for a really long time because I let that fucker get really long. Hi, Shay. And so, I was thinking about, why it took me so long to master my psychology and really create the life that I want to live. And I was thinking about how, over 10 years ago, that would have been 2007, I started learning the principles for designing the life, the kind of life that you want without being held back. And hi, Scott. And I started learning this from my trainer, and it didn't sink in, because I didn't really believe deep down, I had the idea, but I didn't have the belief that my thoughts created my experience of life. And there's a couple reasons I didn't believe it. One was I was really practiced in my childhood in order to meet my own needs to challenge authority. And here was my trainer, who I viewed as an authority, telling me that my thoughts create my experience of life. And I was just challenging that idea just because she was authority. And what would have served me way more is if I just decided to challenge the authority of my own mind. But I didn't do that. And so I stayed stuck in negative thought patterns and negative emotions, and created a life that, wasn't awful, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I was able to create the life I wanted in certain areas because I believed I could. But in other areas, I did not believe that I could. And you know how you've ever heard of people who grow up in situations that they don't have a lot of self-esteem, they don't have an environment that lends itself to self-esteem? There's this one teacher. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Maria. There's this one teacher or mentor or somebody that decides to believe in them, and then they sort of borrow that person's belief. They don't really believe it themselves, but they're able to borrow someone else's belief. And that is kind of what coaching is too. And I spent way too much time not having a coach. I left that coach, and I spent way too much time not having a coach. And then once I really, hit a rock bottom and realized that my life was not what I wanted it to be, and I had no idea how to create the life that I wanted, I started backing into coaching and started getting coaching again. So, and a lot of people grow up with a trained mind. So everybody has a trained mind, right? You're either trained to design your life on purpose and intentionally, or your mind has been trained to be reactionary and only see the material world as evidence of anything real. Okay? So either your mind was trained during your most subconscious training years, i.e. birth to 6 years old, by someone who was not aware of how to master psychology and how to create a life intentionally, or you decided somewhere along the way, probably in that time frame, that only matter matters. Only physical evidence is what's real. And so therefore, the only way for you to believe in abundance is if you can see the physical evidence of a positive balance in your bank account, right? Or the only way that you can believe that you're lovable is if he calls or texts. And if he doesn't, then the evidence tells you the truth that you're not lovable. And so it doesn't really matter where this training came from. And it's not always necessarily your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix it. If you truly desire, with a burning desire, to create a life that has more happiness in it and more emotional states that feel good instead of emotional states that feel bad. So, and results that you want too. So, I'm really passionate. I got so much stuff going on in my head right now. Hi, Robin. Who else is here? Hi, Deanna. So I'm really just so grateful. One of those practices that I've learned in mastering my mindset is gratitude. I'm so grateful that I decided to make a decision that to my brain training was totally irrational. And I decided to think things that I didn't have evidence for. And, hire a coach and all those things. I'm so glad I decided to make an irrational decision that was irrational to my brain and the people that were around me to do something different so I could have different results. So if you are living a life, or if there's an aspect of your life, so, usually there's aspects of our life that we feel really fulfilled in and we feel really successful in. It's because we believe we can do it. We believe we deserve it. But there are some areas of our life that we feel like we don't deserve to feel success, and we don't have the capability or the intelligence or whatever it is, the belief behind not getting the results that you want. Hi, Sherry. So a lot of people, let's take an example. If somebody is overweight, okay, so that's a pretty common example, and that's not the result that they want. And they know the result that they want, and they're trying to achieve the result that they want out of just making themselves do it, out of sheer willpower. Well, that's obviously going to create a lot of stress, and it's not going to be sustainable, because the action of taking care of your body and respecting your body does not align with the overwhelming emotional state, or the most prevalent emotional state that you feel. The most prevalent emotional state that a lot of people feel is shame and disgust and, disappointment. And hi, Stephanie. So it's impossible to have sustained positive action towards getting a desired result if that action isn't in line with the most prevalent emotional state. And so a lot of people think that in order to feel good about my body and love my body, I have to have the evidence that tells me that I have permission to do that. I have to be skinny and fit or whatever, right? I have to look good in a bikini or whatever it is. I have to have the physical evidence in order to let me have the permission to feel good. And really it's switched. You have to have the emotional state first that says I love myself and I respect myself, that lends itself to the action that creates those results. Well, where do emotional states come from? It comes from your thoughts. It comes from the spontaneous thoughts that are built upon the bedrock beliefs of your mind. And thanks for the feedback, Stephanie. So you have to change your thought. You have to have a little bit of faith in a thought that is different, that you don't have physical evidence for. So let's give an example. The weight loss example is pretty, let's talk about, okay, let's go with me. I'm going to get it right out there. For the longest time, I did not believe that I had the ability and the worth in my own talents and skills beyond what my physical display could offer the world in exchange for monetary abundance, right? I had a lot of messages throughout life, and a lot of women in our culture do, is that our worth and our value to our society is our displayability, our aesthetic, desirability. And so I didn't believe that I could make what I called big girl money, and that I couldn't do it past with just skills and talents. And I wasn't willing to use my displayability in a way that would make me, what in my mind was successful money. And that was either modeling or stripping in my mind, right? Because that, using the display skills, that's big girl money, right? So, or at least, abundance. So there's this belief, and I had to change my belief. I had to borrow the belief of my coach and believe in the possibility first that I could have the ability to create big girl money for myself, and abundance and freedom. Really, it's not about money. It's about freedom. It's about the freedom to do what you want and go on vacation when you want and, buy what you want. So, and give what you want. That's a big part. Having, hold on a second, I got kids everywhere. Hello?
Can you leave now?
In just a second, honey. I got a shower. Anyway, so what was I saying? Yes, you have to change your thoughts. And it is really, 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 really hard to do it alone, because it's hard to see our own minds because we're too close to the problem. Does that make sense to anybody? Like, it's really hard, especially if your mind is untrained, or excuse me, it is trained the opposite way, the incorrect way, of creating a life that you want. It's really, really hard to change your thoughts all by yourself because you're too close to the problem to be able to see the problem accurately. So, I'm just really grateful that, coaching has changed my life in such a positive way, and that I made an irrational decision. And I just wanted to share what I've learned. So hopefully it can benefit y'all. If anybody's struggling with results in like your relationship or your health or your career or your parenting or whatever it is, if you're experiencing a result that you don't want, it's 100% because of your thoughts and the beliefs that they come from. And, get some help with that. Whether it's, a counselor or a coach, get some help, because you can do it. And if you don't believe that you can do it, borrow somebody else's belief until you can. So I'm just sending out a lot of love for all my people out there. And, gonna go finish mowing the lawn.